Chapter 12 is all about how Israel should worship God once they enter the Promised Land. God tells them, 1. Destroy the altars of false gods. 2. Worship only where He commands, no mixing with pagan practices. 3. Bring offerings to the place of His choosing. The big lesson? Worship isn't about what feels good to us, it's about what honors God. Then in chapter 13, there's a strong warning. If anyone, even a friend or family member, tries to lead you into idolatry, don't listen. God takes idolatry seriously because it destroys hearts and nations. God calls His people to be set apart. We are different from the world. Chapter 14 talks about clean and unclean foods. While the dietary laws don't apply to Christians today, Mark 7:19, the principle still stands. God cares about what we take into our lives, physically and spiritually. Chapter 15 talks about generosity, canceling debts every 7 years and caring for the poor. It's a reminder that our resources belong to God, and we should be generous. This chapter outlines Israel's 3 main festivals. 1. Passover, remembering God's deliverance from Egypt. 2. Feast of Weeks, Pentecost, celebrating the harvest and God's provision. 3. Feast of Tabernacles, a joyful festival remembering God's faithfulness in the wilderness. These feasts weren't just about rituals, they were about remembering God's goodness. Today we might not celebrate these the same way, but we should still have rhythms of gratitude, remembering what God has done for us. God lays out rules for leaders. Judges must be fair and not take bribes. Future kings must not be greedy and must read God's law daily. Prophets must speak only what God says. False prophets will be exposed. This reminds us that God cares deeply about leadership and justice. Whether you're leading a family, a church, or a nation, staying rooted in God's word is essential. God sets up cities of refuge, safe places where someone who accidentally killed another could flee and get a fair trial. This shows us 2 things. God values justice, but also mercy. He makes sure the guilty are punished, but the innocent are protected. There are also laws about treating people fairly, taking care of prisoners, showing kindness to foreigners, and even dealing justly with rebellious children. A tough one. The big takeaway? God's laws aren't just about rituals, they're about loving people the right way. These chapters cover so many practical laws about everyday life, including treating women with dignity, taking care of animals and nature, keeping business honest, no unfair weights, measures, looking out for widows and orphans. What does this tell us? That why not God cares about the details of our lives? He's not just a Sunday morning God. He wants us to reflect His goodness in how we work, treat others, and even handle money. Chapter 26 ends with a powerful declaration. When Israel brought their first fruits to God, they were to say, "We were slaves, but God rescued us." This is a reminder that everything they had was because of God's grace. For us, the same is true. We were lost, but Jesus rescued us. Every blessing we have is from Him,